The pop culture image of the golden age of piracy as a romantic adventure is a myth. For those sailing the 18th century high seas, it was a reign of terror fueled by gunpowder and blood. This map illustrates the vulnerability of the era. Overextended colonial empires left massive trade routes connecting Europe, Africa, and the Americas almost entirely unguarded. Hundreds of pirate vessels filled this vacuum, clustering around key Caribbean and American choke points to intercept global commerce. Survival on these lawless frontiers meant more than just theft. To withstand the eventual retaliation from professional navies, an outlaw commander had to organize and fight like a military warlord. Today, we are opening the records on 5 legendary commanders to examine the specific methods they used to destabilize global trade and challenge the world's most powerful empires. Edward Teach, known to history as Blackbeard, operated on the belief that if he could break an enemy's resolve before the first shot, the prize was already his. He prioritized psychological warfare as his primary tool of conquest. Before entering battle, Blackbeard tied burning hemp slow matches beneath his tricorn hat. The thick black smoke billowing around his face gave him a demonic appearance, often terrifying merchant crews into immediate surrender without a single cannon being fired. This strategy reached its peak in May 1718 when Blackbeard successfully blockaded the major port of Charlestown, South Carolina. He held the entire city hostage for over a week, plundering ships and demanding a chest of medicine for his crew, while the local government stood by, paralyzed. While Blackbeard used theater to prevent combat, François L'Ollonais occupied the opposite end of the spectrum, utilizing raw, physical sadism. L'Ollonais maintained a strict policy of taking 0 prisoners, often personally executing entire crews. During his sacking of Maracaibo, he subjected the city's inhabitants to weeks of horrific torture for the sole purpose of locating hidden silver. Whether through theatrical psychology or brutal violence, mastering the weapon of fear allowed these commanders to neutralize resistance before a fight could even begin. Not every commander relied on fear. Samuel Bellamy, known as Black Sam, achieved his success through superior maritime maneuvering and speed. Bellamy used his understanding of complex rigging and naval tactics to capture the Whydah galley, a heavily armed slave ship. He outmaneuvered the massive vessel so completely that the captain surrendered the ship without Bellamy having to fire a single shot. While Bellamy focused on agility, Bartholomew Roberts, Black Bart, introduced a level of discipline rarely seen in the pirate world, running his fleet with the precision of a modern corporation. Roberts managed his crew through a strict pirate code. He enforced mandatory curfews, banned gambling and alcohol on board, and established a rigid framework for the division of plunder to ensure his fleet remained an efficient fighting force. This chart compares Roberts' record to his contemporaries. His disciplined approach allowed his fleet to capture more than 400 ships in just 3 years, more than most other famous pirates combined. Roberts and Bellamy demonstrated that order and tactical skill were often more lucrative than chaos, transforming loose bands of outlaws into highly effective naval strike groups. The ultimate evolution of these methods appeared in the South China Sea under the command of Chiang Ai-sao, who rose to lead the most powerful pirate fleet in history. This graphic shows the scale of her Red Flag fleet. At its height, she commanded 1,800 ships and an army of 80,000 pirates, a force that outnumbered many of the era's professional national navies. Controlling a force of this size required absolute legal order. Chiang Ai-sao instituted laws where stealing from the fleet's treasury or disobeying a direct command resulted in immediate execution. Her fleet was large enough to stop hiding from the government. Instead, she systematically destroyed every Qing dynasty fleet sent to arrest her, eventually forcing the empire to negotiate with her as an equal. By achieving this massive scale and internal order, Chiang Ai-sao moved beyond mere crime, effectively operating her fleet as a sovereign maritime power. As the cost of protecting trade routes grew, the empires of the world eventually shifted their focus from containment to total elimination. Most of the Atlantic commanders met violent ends. Blackbeard was killed in hand-to-hand combat, Roberts was struck by Navy grapeshot, and Bellamy drowned when his flagship capsized in a storm. François L'Ollonais met a different fate. After being shipwrecked, he was captured and devoured by the indigenous tribes he had spent his career brutalizing. Cheng Yi Sao was the only one to retire on her own terms. She used the overwhelming power of her fleet to negotiate full amnesty from the emperor, keeping her wealth and living out her life as a successful business owner. These 5 commanders are remembered not for their myths, but for the specific ways they used fear, efficiency, and scale to dominate the high seas and secure their place in naval history.